50 Cent has supposedly released startling new video clips depicting Diddy appearing deeply frightened and unsettled while incarcerated, and these images are rapidly circulating across the internet. For quite some time, various whispers portrayed Diddy as relaxed in custody, perhaps enjoying fine wine and even offering guidance to fellow prisoners. However, this newly surfaced material paints an entirely contrasting picture. Emerging accounts indicate he could genuinely be facing serious risks, with suggestions that specific individuals within the facility are pursuing him for motives that have caught many by surprise. Furthermore, certain observers speculate that this danger ties back to lingering grudges from Tupac's inner circle, reopening old conflicts that people assumed had long since faded away.
This guy's life might be danger over here because people think that he has something to do with Pac. People think he has something to do with Biggie, and they right here in Brooklyn. You understand? It's right here in Brooklyn, and some of the people are still mad that he made Making of the Band walk to Brooklyn from, to get the cheesecake, and just around the corner from the Cheesecake Factory. So, Junior's. So it might be some dumb shit. So y'all need to get him out of here and ship him to Jersey because somebody gonna kill him over here. Those are good arguments, if you want to call it, but it's bullshit. He gonna get the same treatment no matter how much money he got.
For many years, the tragic passings of Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, known as the Notorious B.I.G., have lingered over the hip-hop community like an unresolved scar. Across all that duration, Diddy has steadfastly rejected any connection to either tragedy.
It was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to talk? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Tupac Shakur fell victim to a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas on September 7, 1996, clinging to life for 6 agonizing days before passing away at the young age of 25. Just 6 months afterward, Christopher Wallace, famously the Notorious B.I.G., met a parallel fate in a comparable ambush in Los Angeles on March 9, 1997. These successive losses of 2 legendary figures in rap sent shockwaves worldwide, occurring amid an era when hip-hop suffered intense division due to the notorious East Coast versus West Coast rivalry, a clash driven by pride, allegiance, and deep-rooted animosities. As Biggie's longtime confidant, collaborator, and the founder of Bad Boy Records, Diddy stood squarely in the East Coast camp. Over the passing years, his name kept emerging in debates linked to both killings. Those debates gained fresh momentum through the Netflix documentary series titled Sean Combs: The Reckoning, which debuted on December 2nd and included testimonies from multiple sources asserting that Diddy might have had some involvement. Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burrow explained in the series that the friction between Diddy and Tupac didn't arise spontaneously, pointing back to November 30, 1994, when Tupac endured a robbery and was shot 5 times in the lobby of New York's Quad Studios during a session for a Bad Boy-affiliated artist. Although Tupac pulled through, the event completely destroyed his faith in both Diddy and Biggie, laying the groundwork for a bitter rivalry that would forever mark and torment the history of hip-hop.
Think Puffy was involved in the shooting?
Only they can answer that question. I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine. I wouldn't say things that I knew, you know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. Because you seen what I said in the Vibe article. I basically bowed out and was going to go ahead about my life. The next issue, that wasn't even the next issue, because them cowards waited about 4 issues before they got their story together. 4 issues later, half of New Yorkers commenting on me getting shot. And before, they was all like, we didn't see nothing. In the first issue, we did, Vibe viewers. Nobody seen shit. The 4th issue, when they came back with a reply, everybody knew what I did. They knew what I said. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times in acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision. I only got shot once because they found the bullet. The police found it, but now they the cops. Now they doing detective work. They found the bullet. Oh, you found the bullet, huh? So what is this other shit in me then? What was the doctors talking about? What? Can you explain these other holes in me? How'd I get gunpowder all over me? That insulted my intelligence. So yes, I did say Thug Life was dead. Yes, I bowed out, all of that. But when they said that, they breathed new life.
The Quad Studios incident was never resolved, yet Gene Deal has claimed that Diddy possessed advanced knowledge of the planned assault on Tupac and permitted it to unfold. He points out that the documentary produced with 50 Cent's involvement referenced the event but omitted a crucial element. According to Gene, Diddy, Andre Harrell, and Jimmy Henchman were all gathered in Jimmy's office on that very day, information that neither Biggie nor Suge Knight had at the time. Gene maintains that Diddy's attendance there was deliberate, asserting that Diddy kept close tabs on Biggie because he held control over Biggie's publishing rights and needed to remain updated as Biggie worked on fresh tracks. Gene contends that Diddy was present in the building to oversee Biggie rather than to work jointly with him, and he alleges that during their time together, Jimmy Henchman informed Diddy that Tupac needed to be disciplined over supposed unpaid funds.
In an interim of him being there to spy on Big, Jimmy Henchman told him that they finna teach Pac a lesson. Because Pac had owed him some money. So that's why he was up in the studio and was coming to the studio. Pac owed him some money. He was going to work it off and get some money from doing a song with Lil Sean. And that's what that was about. But Pac was talking greasy to Jimmy Henchman, and Jimmy Henchman wasn't the type of dude that you talk greasy to, allegedly. Unless you're 50 Cent.
So Diddy knew what was going to happen about it.
He knew Pac was about to deal well, yeah. He was there to see it. He was there to see it. He wasn't only there to see Big and them. When Jimmy Henchman told him that, he was there to see what's going to happen to Pac. He was there for that. Because had he not been there for that, he would have went up there in the office. He would have went to the studio or the studio session with Big and them. He would have went to that studio session with Big and them. He knew what room Big and them was in. He didn't do that. He was there to see what was going to happen to Pac after Jimmy told him. And that's factual.
Gene asserts that his statements correspond with hints made by Kirk Burrow, implying Diddy's covert participation, and he reasons that if finances played a role, Kirk's position would give him precise insight into the money's origins.
Yeah, Kirk Burroughs, he also said that, he feels like, Diddy was behind Pac murder.
Yeah. If Diddy played a part in that stuff, like he said, Kirk know where the money came from. I'm going to say this. They tried to, if you talk about the Vegas trip and the whole 9 yards, Kirk said that he paid for people to drive out to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? He said he paid for people to drive out of Vegas. I was heavily with Bad Boy at that time. I don't remember that part of it. You understand? I don't remember that part of it. But if Kirk knew and he was paying for people to drive out to Vegas in the whole 9 yards, it's hard to hide $1 million, brother. You ain't going to cash that in the check cashing place. You signing that over to somebody. I said 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 times again. Eric Von Zip showed me and my man Boondang, a.k.a. my man Slick, a check for $1 million. We don't know, and everybody trying to say, lying, talking about half of it got paid, 500. I don't know. I know when I asked him about, we asked him, do we ask? No, we didn't ask him. I know when he showed us a check and he walked away after he showed us the check for the $1 million.
A significant number of those connected to these events are no longer alive, but the financial records endure. As Gene Deal expresses it, financial evidence doesn't vanish. He is convinced that should the complete facts surface, they will emerge through preserved documents, payments, and monetary exchanges that remain traceable. Almost 2 years following the Quad Studios attack, Tupac was fatally shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas, an unsolved mystery for decades that sparked constant conjecture throughout hip-hop culture. That shifted in September 2023 when Dwayne Keith D. Davis faced arrest and murder charges, with authorities accusing him of a central part in Tupac's demise.
Keith D's claim was an informant in 1997 who told investigators that Puffy had hired the Southside Crips to kill both Suge and Tupac, and that the Crip who was jumped at the MGM was in the group that had done the hit, and that they originally were going to do it at Suge's Vegas nightclub, but then decided to do it right away instead of waiting. This was exactly the same story that Keith D told us a decade later. Very few people know that immediately after Tupac is shot and that white Cadillac is fleeing, one of the death row entourage, a guy named Alton McDonald, known as Buntree, chases after the Cadillac, and a second shooting takes place between the two vehicles. Alton McDonald's car is struck. In fact, within the Las Vegas files, there's a document that indicates that Alton McDonald's car had been struck by a bullet that night.
Yeah, and he even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that shit. Or else it would have been like a hire or something, you know what I'm saying?
The FBI said just
so the FBI told you the
he
same
was
thing.
a dirty motherfucker.
So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well.
They said Zip's a dirty motherfucker. Everybody crossed you. You're the last one to know every fucking thing. Even lawyers, your friends, everybody can cross your ass.
Diddy has rejected every accusation leveled against him, and in July 2024, officials from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department clarified that Sean Combs was never regarded as a suspect in the Tupac Shakur homicide probe. He has faced no formal charges to date, whereas Keith D. Davis has entered a not guilty plea and stays detained while his legal proceedings encounter repeated postponements. Following Tupac's passing, the atmosphere of peril apparently persisted. Sources familiar with the circumstances report that Diddy and his East Coast associates received strong cautions against venturing to the West Coast. Nevertheless, Diddy proceeded with arrangements to support the promotion of Biggie's forthcoming album. Although Biggie himself expressed hesitation about the trip, Kirk Burrow later alleged in Sean Combs, The Reckoning, that Diddy actively pushed for it.
I seen an interview that Puffy did with Fat Joe where he was talking about Biggie in his last moments in L.A., and he told Fat Joe that he didn't want to go to L.A., he actually wanted to go to London, but Biggie, he was the one that wanted to go to L.A., and he was the one that was pushing to go to L.A.
That's not true. My name is Kirk Burrows. I ran Bad Boy Entertainment. I helped co-found it. I created the company with him. I raised from general manager to president. And at that time, I put all of those business plans together. And Biggie didn't want to go to LA, ended up going. What got him out there was a week ahead of time to ease him into the whole award show. He may not have wanted to go to London, but was talked into it. First time ever, a rapper of your stature getting this treatment, that would be something he would be interested in doing. But he was easily talked out of it by Sean so that they can make an appearance at an event in LA that Saturday night. A part of the posturing of not only did we come to the award show, not only am I recording my album out here, and Big is going to help me with some of the writing and maybe do something out here where me and him did this song in LA. I'm out on the town. And it was just too much.
Gene Deal has backed up this version, disclosing that Clark Kent, a trusted ally of Biggie and respected figure in the industry, confessed to wondering aloud why Biggie was stepping out that evening at all. Biggie was meant to be focused on travel preparations, not nightlife. When Clark inquired about the destination, the Peterson Automotive Museum, Biggie revealed it had been organized by Puffy along with someone else. Gene notes he remained unaware of these specifics until Clark shared them openly many years afterward.
They wasn't going out to no party, no clubs, and no hip-hop scene. They wasn't doing none of that, brother. But that one particular night they go out, and it was because of Puff and D-Rock. Clark Kent said that shit himself. I've been saying it for years, but everybody was saying, I'm capping. No, What do you call Clark Kent? Is he capping? He's a vice president of a record company. You understand what I'm saying? He was DJing for Big. Is he capping? All these people should smack themselves, brother. Because what happens is, when people hear the truth, they can't believe it. Why? They can't understand it. But it happened. We couldn't have done nothing because it was no we. It was no we out there. Big had a security, Paul offered, Reggie Bullock. Puff had me and Kenny. We was down 6 to 8 other men. And it's 23 people in the entourage. And none of them got no guns. You don't go Cali empty-handed. We couldn't have done nothing.
What continues to distress Gene the deepest, he explains, is that he actively advocated for heightened protection prior to their outing. He pressed the matter firmly but claims it was refused, with Puffy responding that funds were insufficient to afford it.
People still want to know shit about him. They should have had better security. I asked them before we going to go out? Let's hire some more security. They refused to hire more security. They refused to hire more security. Kirk Burroughs said the same thing. They ain't have it in the budget. Not without Big, they don't have no budget. How about that?
Further along in the documentary series, ex-LAPD investigator Greg Kading expressed his view that Diddy complicated the inquiry process more than he assisted it.
My perceptions have changed slightly, gradually over time. Today, I look at Diddy through a different lens than I might have 10, 15 years ago. There were obviously some early red flags, but it's a complicated thing because we have to be very careful about falsely accusing people or even, making accusations based on nothing more than speculation. And we just haven't seen all the evidence. So I prefer to kind of withhold judgment on some things. I can tell you regarding Diddy back when Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls were murdered. He wasn't exactly cooperative. He didn't do what you would assume a friend or, a manager, so to speak, would do. So from a law enforcement perspective, he was very unhelpful in an area where he ought to have been contributing towards getting some type of justice in those two murder cases. But as we found out in time, he was complicit in one of them, and which would make sense why maybe he didn't cooperate in the other, because the two were, they were just, we always understood that they were somehow interconnected. And so if you're going to cooperate or provide information on one and you're culpable in the other, one thing could lead back to the next. And that's where I think he understood his own vulnerability.
Eyewitnesses portrayed Biggie's assailant as a black male dressed in a blue tuxedo complete with a bow tie. Still, no arrests or indictments have occurred in the matter. Many years later, both homicides stay officially unresolved, and Diddy has avoided any legal consequences, although evolving links to his purported role in Tupac's killing might alter that status. According to Kirk Burrow, hostilities between the groups predated Tupac's entry into Quad Studios by quite some time. Mutual confidence was scarce, pride ran rampant, and the music world brimmed with subtle competitions. When Tupac suffered the robbery and shooting within the premises, Burrow describes the aftermath as swift and severe. From that point forward, relations between the East and West Coast factions were irreparably transformed.
Coming in, he was friendly with Big. He saw Little Sean, people like that. They wanted him to come and do a record. That was what was set up at Quad. Biggie knowing Little Sean, they were all there, C's, all of them. It was just going to be a fun night at the studio. Pac showed up. He saw them looking down from the window. His new friends were there. An incident happened in the elevator. It might have been a scary thing, like just to send a message. Tupac standing his own ground, just didn't leave it at that. He ended up getting hit, getting shot. The elevator went up. Our people were shocked to see him in that state. He was shocked to see our people looking at him shocked. He thought that they knew something about it. He thought if he was in New York and he was with all the rappers from the East, they must have known what was going to happen. It had to be in the wind. And situations aren't laid out like that. And it was the furthest thing from the truth, but he held that to his heart. And then he went away. A few other things happened, got better, got repaired, went away, went to jail on the rape charge. Once that came down on him, it looked as if the East Coast must have been the worst thing and the worst place for him to have come to. And it looks as if the friends that he had just turned their backs on him. Suge stepped in. And when Suge stepped in, he signed him. He signed him to a napkin at Clinton. And that letter that he sent through Wendy Day, she was definitely a person that was connected and a mediator between most everyone in the hip hop game and had been for a minute, legendary person. She delivered the letter to my office. It started with West Side Up. So it gave an indication of rumblings that we heard in the street with him being shined by Suge was definitely true. He's going to go west when he comes back, and he has an issue with us.
Burrow recounts that Tupac cautioned him the dispute had evolved beyond mere musical competition. In correspondence, Tupac delivered a stark, unambiguous warning. He viewed it as outright warfare involving Puffy and Biggie. His language left no room for misinterpretation. In Tupac's estimation, the Quad Studios ordeal had fundamentally shifted the dynamic.
By the name of Wendy Day, a very important woman in the hip-hop world. I think she helped Baby and those guys with Cash Money label, setting that up. She's very influential and instrumental in a lot of success. When I started in the music business, I reached out to her. She had a company called Rap Coalition. She went back and helped rappers from a previous generation get their money straight, their royalties. With that being said, I was like, she's someone I want to know. In knowing her, I had the good fortune of when she was dealing with Tupac during his crises on the East Coast, she went to visit him at Clinton. He wrote a letter, drafted it, so that she can bring it to me at the office so that I could know and be able to relate to Sean where we were with him. And the letter, if I remember, it said, West Side Up. And what we had heard was rumblings that Suge came and signed him on a napkin to a contract, and he was going to go west. And all the stuff that happened to him on the East and made it look like people on the East, King or the biggest rappers on the East, or people that he knew should have warned him or protected him against what had happened. And it just is not geographically laid out like that. And a lot of people caught some blame for things that they had nothing to do with. And he took offense, went west, and that started him as a mouthpiece against the East, all right, going at Biggie. And I think it's more than, that's one level of the beef. Then I think there's another level of things that were going on in the streets where things happened in the dividing line between East and West that caused a big rift that led to mouthpieces going at each other.
From Burrow's standpoint, that episode represented the genuine ignition point where the rivalry escalated uncontrollably, well ahead of the devastating violence that later stunned everyone. Meanwhile, certain figures like Chopper maintain that Diddy probably orchestrated Tupac's murder, particularly considering the profound resentment he allegedly harbored. Part 14. That's the reason Chopper argues Diddy's animosity toward Tupac appeared so vehement, not merely rivalrous or trivial, but intensely personal. He asserts that Diddy harbored genuine loathing for Tupac, regardless of how one worded it. Only with hindsight did he come to appreciate the true depth of that hostility.
The comment you made about how when you would bring up Pac name around Diddy, he'll get mad.
Yes. He hated every bit of it. I remember one time, he was like, who did you grow up listening to? I'm like, Tupac. I ain't mentioned Biggie. That nigga ain't even talk to me for like 4 fucking days after that. Everything with Pot, like, you couldn't say Pot was anything better than Biggie. You can't put them in the same realm or nothing. It was all about Biggie. Nick, I ain't know no fucking it was all a dream whole song. I knew a couple words, the first verse maybe, but he made us recite the whole fucking thing. I guess, I don't know. He made us recite that whole fucking thing. And I don't think that Biggie would have gave a if a nigga would have killed about reciting his whole shit. You dig? Like, cause I grew up listening to Biggie too, you know? And I just felt
Currently, 50 Cent is purportedly distributing this material to media outlets such as TMZ and various other news sources. As Gene Deal suggests, should this prove accurate, Diddy is very likely gearing up for some form of counteraction.
Keith D situation. I think the real reason why they ain't gonna let Puffy out is because they trying to connect that Keith D situation with Puffy. That's what I really think it is. Because if it came down to some freaking foolishness and all that, there are buku chumped up charges they couldn't prove. I don't think they got no evidence. I think they trying to keep him in there to lock in that Keith D. You hear me? That Keith D situation with Puff. I think that's the only reason why he's still in jail right now. They know Puff is not a dangerous person on the outside. They know if they let him out right now, he's going to be on house arrest. He's going to be a good boy. He fuck around and do all church little videos and whatever. They know that already. That's not what they aiming for. They don't care about none of that. What they care about is they trying to connect Keith D with Biggie. I mean, with Tupac and Diddy. I'm telling you, that's what I feel. And I never thought I would have said that, but I'm an intelligent man, bruh. And ain't no other way they gonna keep you in there of, yeah, Diddy did this to me. Oh, Diddy did that to me. I'm suing him. Oh, we got enough evidence to. No, you don't. That's accusations. That's not actual factual, brother. You dig? So I feel like the actual factual thing that they really trying to aim for is the key for D. That's the only thing that they can really lock him in with. All the rest of that shit gonna get chumped down when it come down to it. Diddy gonna plead, and that shit gonna be over with. What they going? That rabbit in the hole is gonna be that Kid for D situation. I'm telling you, mark my words. Watch. That's why they ain't gonna let him out. They would have let Kid for D out on that bail. Vegas got a little thing. They'll let you out on bail, but they got little restrictions of how you can get out. You dig? So they gonna make sure your ass can't get out of jail. Trust me. So that's the only way I see that. Because the feds play a different game.
We need people to put people out here that's doing shit like this, that's taking from people's families, that's beating women, that's drugging women. I ain't got a problem with it. Let's go to war. Bruh, first of all, they're going to try to get his baby mama stories. You know, they're going to try to get 50 baby mama stories. They're going to try to get girls that he probably dated, that he had problems and issues with and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They're going to try to do the same thing they probably did to R. Kelly or Puff or whatever like that, and people tell their stories. You understand? But, you know, they're trying to retaliate on what he did. Let him go ahead, bruh. Because I think he's ready for it. You don't do this and you don't do the stuff that he did or sign on to the stuff that he did with Puff unless you got your shit in order. Don't throw no stone if you live in a glass house. Don't throw no stone if you live in a glass house. I believe 50 ready for it if they come at him any kind of way. I heard that Diddy is trying to sue Netflix for $1 billion. Ain't nothing came up in court. That's just talk, bro. No paperwork has been put in and signed into that. They're going to have a reason. If they were suing him and he had enough reason, why they didn't cease and desist the thing? Huh? If he had a leg to stand on, why they didn't cease and desist the documentary? That's just people talking. Headline news. Because had it been filed in court, and they had a leg to stand on, they'd have been bringing that stuff down. Oh, we can't show it no more.